Okay, we will resume our meeting. Starting with item 7.6, visitor Starting with item 7.4, Clean BC Organic Infrastructure and Collection Program Fund. Thank you. This is for Candace and Chris. No, I guess this one's for Chris.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I think there was 7.3, the Turner Street trees.
Oh, I still have it wrong. Getting way ahead of myself. Yes. Thank you. 9800 Turner Street Boulevard trees. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so the purpose of this report is to reconsider a proposal from the strata to remove 12 London plane trees that exist in the boulevard at the front of that property and replace them with 5 paperbark mulch and 3 eastern redbud trees. So this report item initially came to council on the 14th of September. Staff presented a request from the strata to approve the removal and replacement of the existing trees. Staff noted in that report that the district doesn't support the removal of nuisance trees, and options to mitigate risks should be pursued before removal is considered. Council at that meeting deferred the request from the strata and directed staff to bring back more details on the boulevard replacement plan for future consideration. So since that meeting, staff have met with the strata and discussed the proposed replanting plan. The plan has been revised to address comments and concerns from staff and is included in the report as attachment 2. Staff's recommendation is based on previous council decisions to not support removal of trees that don't pose a risk to life or public infrastructure. However, staff recognize that these trees will continue to grow and the risk of damage to district infrastructure will continue to increase. Therefore, should council approve the removal and replacement of the existing trees, staff would support the proposed replanting plan that was included in the report. So if there are any questions, feel free to fire away.
Okay, council, any questions? Okay, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, looking at the replanting plan that they provided us, it's hard to judge scale and compared to what's there now. And I'm just wondering if you could provide any insight of what they're proposing, how does that compare to what's there now in terms of the trees and how it fills it out?
Yeah, so obviously they're a smaller tree, but they're definitely still a shade tree. Each of the 2 species that they're proposing. On the west side of the gate, there was 8 existing London plane trees that they'd be looking to replace with 5. And then on the east side, there was 5 existing trees that they'd be replacing with 3. So part of the issue was also the interference with the streetlights that exist on that road. So they've ensured that there was spacing between those and that the light just on the west side of the entrance was going to be unobstructed by a tree, where it currently is right now. So as far as height, I believe the existing trees, they do go taller than the streetlights right now. So they're closer to 40 to 50 feet tall, whereas these ones would top out around 25 to 30. So still definitely an adequate shade tree, just something that won't grow as quickly or as large as the current London plane trees.
Okay, another question, if I may. So and they would pay for all the costs. There would be nothing on the district.
That is correct. Based on their cost estimates, they've got budget for $25,000 for the removal and $7,500 for the planting, and they would be using their existing contractor that looks after their on-site maintenance to do the planting, and they have Scotty Tree Removals lined up to do the removal within that budget. So their intent is 100% funded through them. We did discuss our concerns that if the costs come in higher, that the district is not interested in contributing funds towards this project, so they were aware of that.
And just to follow up on that, would we have to sign off on anything they do or monitor what they're doing?
Yeah, so the contractor would require working in the right-of-way permit. So we would have some assurances on timing. We would take securities potentially for any potential damage that might occur to the sidewalk or roadway. And then would ensure that they have their proper insurance and BC1 calls are all done prior to any work.
Thank you.
Good, you just answered a couple of questions I had too. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are there root blocking wells or whatever they call that in the ground today?
We're not 100% sure if there's root guards in place. There appears to be, though, just based on the limited damage or impact that we see on the sidewalk. That is something, though, that's noted as part of the replanting plan in the notes that are attached before the drawing, that root guard will be placed by each of the new trees to protect the sidewalk, as well as on the backside to protect their infrastructure, with being their fence and their yards.
So that's also at their cost?
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? Councillor Barkwell.
My question is more of a general nature, but it is on topic here. That apparently our policy is not to remove nuisance trees. I think we should, re-examine that policy. If we have, say, a Siberian elm in the park, we want to get rid of it. We don't want to be a contributor to and be a bad neighbor. Where does this policy of not dealing with nuisance trees come from, and why would we want such a policy?
So it's not to be confused with invasive species. Nuisance trees being just trees that a particular neighbor or resident has an issue with, even though it's a healthy tree, and not, yeah, so not referring to invasive species. But if it's, yeah, as is this instance, or we've had other ones where a tree was blocking someone's view of the lake, for instance, that we wouldn't support removal of those if they were deemed healthy and not at risk.
Okay, that explains it for me, because I do remember that we did have Siberian elms that were an issue, and I wondered, and it seemed a big job to get rid of them, but maybe not anymore.
Well, Madam Mayor, you're on mute.
Thank you, Chris. Could I ask someone to bring forward a motion, please? Councillor Barkwell.
I'll bring forward the motion that the request for La Vista Country Estates Strata Council to remove and replace the existing boulevard trees in front of 9800 Turner Street be approved.
Thank you. Councillor Patton is seconding. Further discussion on this? Oops. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I take note that last time we discussed this, we didn't have these drawings and we were, or the photos or anything like that, and that additional information is useful. I think when I was acting mayor, I was asked to bring it back, and I didn't because we didn't have any additional information. But seeing that gives us, I think, some reassurance, and it sounds like they know what they're going to be doing. So this time around, I'll support this, and I think it's a benefit to everybody in the long run.
Yeah, I seem to recall that the first time this came to council, there was a suggestion of using some ornamental grasses in there to replace the trees, and I didn't think that was necessarily adequate. But anyways, we have something completely different in front of us today. And if there are no further comments or further discussion, I will call the question. What happened to Councillor Traynor? Oh, there she is. Sorry, right beside me. Sorry. All in favor? Any opposed? Great, that carries unanimously. Okay, now on to Clean BC Organic Infrastructure and Collection Program Fund. Candace, are you There
Yeah,
we
I'll
are.
turn this one over to Candace, our
Okay.
manager of environmental services.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the District of Summerland has another funding opportunity that we would like to explore. It's through the same one as before, but this is a second intake through the Clean BC Organics Infrastructure and Collection Program. They will be offering two collection streams, or two streams of intake for the grant funding. There's the curbside collection stream, and there is the sorry, I've got it here somewhere. And there's the infrastructure stream. And as we've already received the grant funding for the infrastructure stream, we would not be applying for that portion of the grant funding, but we would like to explore and apply for grant funding for the curbside portion of the stream. So that'll be things like the modifications or any changes we need to make to the curbside as far as capital goes. So like if we want to add carts or locks for the carts for bearware and, you know, kitchen catchers for inside the houses and everything. Plus that also opens up the stream for our education program and our communication program, which was not a section that was previously covered, and the rollout of the new program for the curbside collection. So this is a grant that we'd like to apply for. We're in the process of working out our numbers now. It closes in January. We have to have it submitted January 12th. So I'd like to look at the opportunity, prepare a grant application, bring it back to council on January 11th for approval, and then proceed with the application on the 12th. And then we'd also like to consider putting support behind the district support behind the applications that are going to be submitted for the same idea for the RDOS, Oliver and Osoyoos.
Okay, thank you, Candace. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. So would we be able to, you seem to suggest that any Bear Smart initiative that we might want to undertake, we could roll into this? It could become part of this, or it could be funded from this?
Yes, through Madam Mayor. It is something that we are looking at as far as the carts go and the education, because of course you're going to be having food waste that is no longer in bags inside of the garbage carts. It's going to be outside loosely inside in a cart. So it is part of that education program. We are looking at the opportunities to see how much of it we can put in. My thought would be that we, as part of the organics, it is an education program for the bearware, and that we should be able to upgrade any carts for those residents that need it to bear carts. But the biggest thing I would see that falls behind it is the education and updating some of our bylaws so that it's well known that you still, regardless of bear cart or not, you're not putting your cart out before the morning, because it's still a detractant whether it's in a bear cart or not, right? So
that'd be great. And another question, if I may. So if we're providing letters to RDOS, Oliver and our Osoyoos, are we asking them to provide letters of support for us for this application if we submit it?
Yes, through Madam Mayor, we have actually requested those letters for them. The way we kind of see this whole education program and the actual rollout is we're hoping to work kind of a unified as a unified group, but we're applying for separate grants because education makes more sense if we can go regional and make sure that, you know, those people down in Penticton are learning the same education programs as we are here and following the same stuff. So if people move, it's easier to flow. So we plan on working on it together. We've been working on the pricing and the rollout portion of it together too, as we had, even though we have individual contracts with Waste Connections, it went out as a group contract. So it would be the same idea there too. It's just that it's felt that it's going to be better if we each apply for our own program as with the support of the other areas.
Good. Councillor Barkle, and then Councillor Patton.
If there's going to be additional bear problems with the organic pickup and such, I would like to see staff explore what I think is a really easy solution, and that is that the garbage pickups don't start until 8 in the morning. because no retiree wants to get up and drag their garbage cart out there, get up at 6:30 and if they just don't want to have to do it. And it shouldn't be necessary if we can reschedule things in some way. I just don't see it as being a big hurdle to try whatever, if they need a key or if they keep it in the truck overnight or whatever. But I think that 7 o'clock is just not a reasonable time to have people required to be having their garbage on the street.
Thank you. Through Madam Mayor. That is certainly something we could explore if council would like us to do that. There are some things we'd have to look at, especially operationally at the landfill, and because Waste Connections is not able to maintain garbage in their carts overnight, so it would have to be a shift of hours so that we're open late enough that when they're coming in, and we have staff there available to do the covering of the waste, compacting and covering afterwards. But it is something we certainly could explore if directed to. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Candace. Councillor Patton, you were next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question in regards to resolution number 2. What are your costs that you're going to be looking at to for the curbside pickup for the kitchen waste? Because I notice here you have kitchen bins, a communication program rollout, and other eligible costs related to curbside collection. So what are we actually looking at, a dollar figure that we're going to be seeing for increases?
Yes, thank you. Through Madam Mayor. At this point, we don't have the exact dollar number. We're still working on the grant application and the funding. It was a fairly quick turnaround on this grant and the rollout of it. And so we've been trying to get prices from suppliers and plan out what it is exactly we are looking at. Our thought on our end is having some available bear carts in the smaller size for those residents who just want to have their food waste separate from the green waste, or an attachment that will go on top of the existing carts that we have. So we're modifying our carts to lock them up for the bear, like to prevent bears. And rather than replacing all the carts, that would be the most economical thought. And then also the idea of a kitchen catcher that would be supplied to each of the residents for in the house, so that they would have an area to collect it in their house. Some areas have previously gone where it was up to the resident to supply their own, and some have rolled it out with a supply to the residents themselves. Those are one of those options we're still looking at, waiting for a little bit more pricing to come in so we can make the call whether we think the prices are realistic or not. Unfortunately, I just don't have the full numbers here until we get all of our pricing in, and that's why we haven't finalized the grant application at this point.
If I may, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Candace, but have you determined what the cost to the taxpayer is going to be?
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. Are you meaning as far as the changes for the curbside collection?
That's correct.
Itself, or any additional capital? Not out, like you mean truck rolling kind of idea?
Yeah, so there's going to be a cost that's going to be associated with this above the grant monies that is going to impact our citizens. So we've talked about this before when we talked about this, and I asked what a cost would be to our citizens, or what the additional cost would be. I was just wondering if you have taken into an account what you may be looking at for rate increases to accompany this.
Yes, thank you, through Madam Mayor. We've been in discussions with the RDOS and Oliver Nasoyus and ourselves in Penticton with Waste Connections regarding that. It is felt that the only real increase we're going to see is the additional cost for the extra pickups during the times that we don't collect green waste. So that would be because we only collect green waste during 20 weeks of the year, or sorry, we only do the 20 collections. And so we'd have to increase that to do the full year. And so those would be where our increases are. They're just, we're still in negotiations, just to making sure it's still a fair amount. And until those negotiations are done, I can't give you the final change, but that is what we believe will be the outcome of it at this point.
If I
Thank
could
you.
add,
Thank you very much. Thanks.
sorry, just if I could add to that too, part of it is going to be some discussion in 2021 about which do we look at switching garbage collection from weekly to bi-weekly to allow the yard and garden waste and the food scraps to be picked up weekly. If we make that switch, there would be no net change. There would be no increase in pickups other than the extra weeks that Candace mentioned. But if we look at going weekly for both, then there will obviously be additional pickups and additional costs that we'll have to discuss with council once we have those numbers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I remember the discussions going around about using the green bins for food waste. And excellent. Thanks for the explanation. Thank you.
Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you. So is this a program that people can opt out of? Being that we're such a rural community, a lot of people compost their own garden or kitchen waste and what have you. And a lot of people don't have the bins for organics because they process them in a different way by composting them on the farm, per se. Or is this a mandatory thing?
Thank you through Madam Mayor. That would be something we would be bringing back to council for a decision, for your decision as to whether you want to make it a mandatory program or whether it would be an optional program.
I have a question for either Chris or Candace, or maybe both, and that is, with our organics processing facility and making sure that we're in compliance at the landfill, is diverting, and I've heard a lot about this at the RDOS, is diverting organics from the landfill. Is that something that I guess, is regulatory and we need to do? And B, does it extend the life of the landfill? And C, do we need that extra bit of organics to help with the efficacy of our organics composting facility? So sorry, I've given you kind of three questions there, all rolled into one.
Sorry, I'm just writing that down. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as to point one or A, regulatory, it is something that is going to be coming at some point, be regulated, that food waste removal occurs from like the food scrap removal occurs from curbside. As to whether it will affect just larger municipalities or whether it will trickle right down, it hasn't been determined or set yet, and the actual regulation hasn't been required yet, but it is something that everybody's expecting to occur. Until such time, I can't give that exact answer as to when or who will be affected by it. That'll be a ministry decision. As far as point B goes, whether that will extend the life of the landfill, yes, it will. We're expecting to take out, they estimate that there's about 40% of curbside waste is food scrap waste, and they expect about 20% of that to be able to be collected and removed under a non-regulated mandatory program. And so we'll be saving that additional airspace as part of it. We do lose the moisture within our landfill cell, which can be a bit of an issue, but there are other methods for having that moisture and ensuring we have enough moisture during the compaction so that we don't lose the compaction rate itself. And that is something that we are proceeding with as part of the design and moving forward in the future. It'll be included in parts of our DOC and everything else that we are doing, but it will extend the life of our landfill because we do save that, and it will also extend the life as far as having to do landfill gas capture. So the less organics you put in, the less chance you're going to have hit those levels where they require landfill gas capture. And right now we are underneath the required level, but as we keep going and going, it will become something that could be an issue down the road. As we sit right now, the level we're at, over the life of the landfill, we have to review it every 5 years and do some testing and ensure that we're still underneath their required level before they require gas capture systems. And so luckily at this point, we're still underneath it, and that will be a big benefit for us to remove the food waste and not have any additional gas or have as much additional gas created in the future. And as far as Part C goes, the extra organics, do we require it to help with the efficacy of the system or of our organics? The reason that one of the reasons, there's multiple reasons. One is protection of the environment, removal of the greenhouse gases, as we've already discussed, but also too was able to get us the opportunity to apply for the grant funding that we did. And so, and it will also provide the opportunity to have compost that is non-biosolids compost, so that it's more for the farm use. So that was a dual benefit for us in applying for the grant and moving forward with the food waste removal. We were able to tackle quite a few items through that would had to have been done regardless as part of our non-compliance through our organics. And so we were able to move forward with those as part of the grant funding.
Good, thank you. That's a great answer and all good news. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, could I have someone bring forward the resolution then, please? Or I guess there's a few of them there. Councillor Carlson, thank you.
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah. I think so, please.
Okay, that staff be directed to further explore the residential curbside collection stream of the Clean BC Organic Infrastructure and Collection Program funding opportunity. 2, that staff be directed to submit an application for the residential curbside collection stream of the Clean BC Organic Infrastructure Collection Program for curbside collection related materials, kitchen bins, and a communication and education program rollout and other eligible costs to the curbside collection of organics. 3, the District of Summerland provide a letter in support of the Regional District of the Okanagan-Similkameen Clean BC Organic Infrastructure Collection Program grant application, and for the there's 5. And for the District of Summerland provide a letter in support of the Oliver Clean BC Organic Infrastructure Collection Program grant application, and 5, that we provide a letter to Osoyoos Clean BC Organic Infrastructure Collection Program grant application. 3 letters of support and our own application.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Traynor, and further discussion on this. I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you.
Now, item 7.5 is being deferred, and our Director of Finance would like 7.8 to be next because he has to leave, and a couple of other changes. If you are open to this, we could defer 7.6 and 7.7, which are both solar related things for Tammy to talk to us about. So defer 7.6 and 7.7, and then have 7.8, which is the one that we need to get moving on, move up to that, move up a couple of spots. Marty, sorry, Councillor Van Elfen, you're okay with that?
So moved, sure.
Thank you very much. Seconder, Councillor Patton. All in favor? Oh, Councillor Holmes, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering when they'd be deferred to. So when would
To
we actually?
till January the 11th. So our first meeting in the new year.
Okay, and that's fine for the grant funding and all that sort of stuff that with the EV stations, and
Well, we've already got the funding.
yeah, but we have to notify the funders. I'm just wondering
If we're moving them, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you know, and the other thing is, if I don't, we probably don't want to have a long meeting on Friday, but we have that special meeting scheduled for Friday, and if there's any opportunity to
Okay.
discuss
Well,
anything additional, then
Let's get your question answered first. Tammy, you're still here, correct?
Yes,
There she is.
yes, hi. So 7.7, that's no problem. 7.6, it's doable to defer that till January. It's preferable if we can get to it this week, though, to give us the maximum amount of time to negotiate with the funder, if it's possible. Yeah.
Will you be able to join us on Friday then? We have a 4 o'clock scheduled meeting anyways.
I'm not working on Friday, but I
Yes.
I can speak with Karen and we can try to work something out.
Could we not do it this evening? We have a meeting. Sorry, just to throw another option out there.
We can certainly see how the time goes, and if it gets to 5 p.m. and we'd like to move it to this evening, I'm sure that we can make that work.
And you're zooming in from home, are you, Tammy? Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so having those questions answered then. So Councillor Holmes, if we can't get to it tonight, then we'll look at Friday. Could I have, I'll call the question then, unless there's more questions. Okay, so all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so that carries. Thank you very much. So on to Mr. Svetlichny and 7.8 proposed 2021 increases for water, sewer, and electrical rates.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just gonna have a little slideshow presentation that I'm just gonna take over the screen here, and hopefully you can remember how to do this. I think it's that one. So hopefully everyone can see this.
Yeah, that looks good.
Perfect. So we have 3 resolutions in front of council today in regards to the 2021 water rates, sewer rates, and electrical rates. The following slides, they do summarize council's deliberations surrounding the district's utility budgets for the 2021 year end, as well as those rates. So starting with the sewer utility, the services that are included, the primary ones anyway, administration, the big one, of course, is sewage collection, treatment, and disposal. We do offer a sani service dump down in Trout Creek, lift station maintenance, sludge removal, as well as debt charges. Those are the biggest components of the budget. Looking at the operations as a whole for 2021, we can see that we are budgeting for revenues of $3.08 million, as well as expenses of $3.08 million, with a small surplus of $350. As the sewer utility, of course, is a utility, we would expect that the revenues that are being generated are primarily from user fees, those individuals that are actually using the service. So when we look at that 3.08 million, user fees make up 1.52 million of that, so just over 50%, as well as parcel taxes of $733,000, And then we also receive an operating grant from OBWB of just over 262,000. So from a revenue perspective, those are our biggest revenue components. On the expense side, we looked at the services that were included in the previous slide. Overall, debt charges in the sewer fund make up $1.04 million. So roughly a third of this utility's expenses come from debt servicing costs. Sewage collection and treatment come in at about $911,000, with reserve transfers to capital at $374,000 and sludge removal at $263,000. So those are the main components of the expense line item of that $3.08 million. Looking at the capital fund, the sewer utility is of the three utilities we own, the newest of the three. So when we're looking at the capital budgets, we do only have 3 items on the capital plan for 2021, being those that are on the screen right there. 2 actual projects and a design for a disinfection upgrade, which will be coming into effect in coming years. On average, the sewer capital fund is looking at spending approximately about $2.6 million as a 5-year average. So although 2021 is somewhat light on the expense side of things, future years do start to ramp up. On the water side, the services that are included are there up on the screen again. The big ones, of course, water treatment, water distribution, maintaining the district's 11 dams, some hydrant maintenance, of debt charges as well, and meter maintenance are the key ones within this utility. On the revenue and the expense side of things, we are budgeting for revenues of just over $6 million and expenses of just over $5 million. And that actually should say 6. That's my mistake. The expense should be 6.02 million, Madam Mayor. In my haste, I put a 5 there for some strange reason. So the surplus is 20,580. That is the correct amount. And again, as the sewer utility, we talked about revenues coming from the user fees themselves. On the revenue side, domestic water, we've budgeted $3.2 million from the revenue side of things. Irrigation water, 552,000, and parcel taxes of 1.5 million. So those are the 3 main components of revenues that are being looked at in 2021. On the expense side, as we talked about, treatment and distribution, those 2 fundamental and key aspects of a water utility. The budget for 2021 is $2.4 million for those 2 functions. Debt charges of 1.3 million. Transfers to capital, council's looking at transferring $718,000 into capital reserves for future capital projects, as well as administration comes in at just over $600,000. So of the services that are provided, those are the main costly ones. Looking at the water, the capital budget, we see that we have 10 projects that are being looked at being brought forward this year at a combined total of just over $3.7 million, Madam Mayor. The 5-year average comes in at slightly over that at 4.1 million. Well, a couple things to note on the water capital side of things is that this budget does allocate over a 5-year span, just over $2 million of gas tax funding for annual water main replacements. So we look at about $500,000 or $250,000 to $500,000 annually in relation to that, replacing our water mains. As well, the capital plan that was brought forward during budget takes into account $7.3 million in debt funding in 2021 and 2022 for 2 of the projects on this list. The final utility, the electrical utility, again, the services that are included there. The largest component, of course, is the electricity wholesale purchase that we have to purchase from Fortis. We also have some systems operations costs, brushing, meter reading and maintenance, as well as underground locates. Those are the primary functions of the electrical utility. Looking at the budgeted revenues and expenses, as we can see, we're basically dead heat here, $12.46 million on each side, with a small surplus of $209. And we can see in the brackets there, to generate that small surplus, we do require a 3.62% rate increase to cover off operational increases. On the revenue side, residential users, we're budgeting $7.9 million of revenues to come from our residential users. Commercial and industrial, $4.2 million. And the remaining about $157,000 in street lighting revenue. The 3 major revenue sources within this utility. On the expense side, as we talked about on the previous slide, the largest component on our expenses in the electrical utility come from the electricity we have to purchase from Fortis. The budget in 2021 is $9 million of costs associated with that. There are an additional $830,000 worth of systems operations costs that we've budgeted for, some transfers to reserves of just over $400,000, administrative costs of $1.2 million, and a dividend of $500,000 from the electrical utility over to the general fund. One thing to note on this slide as well, Madam Mayor, is I touched on that this did require a 3.62% rate increase to balance this budget. That primarily is due to the fact that Fortis increased their rates by 4.36%. So our wholesale costs have gone up substantially, and we were required to increase our rates to offset the cost of those electrical increases from Fortis. Looking at the capital plan, we have 2, 4, 6, 7, I think 7 or 8 capital items being brought forward in the 2021 capital plan. So of the $6 million spend that's being looked at in 2021, it is good to note that $4.6 million of that is grant funded. So a large component of the solar and battery storage project is grant funded. The entire project is $6.9 million, with $6 million coming from the grant. And the other component in this year's capital plan that has grant funding attached to it is the voltage conversion project. That is a 90% grant funded project with 10% coming from the district. So as we can see, a fairly large spend in 2021. However, as noted, a substantial amount of that $4.6 million coming from grants. And on a 5-year average, we're looking at just over $2.5 million annually to be spent on the electrical utility. So what does this all mean? As council deliberated during budget discussions, not only this year, but in previous years, there's a heavy draw on, or there's a heavy focus on capital and asset management. So over last year in 2020, council made a resolution where over a 5-year term, water and sewer rates would be increased by 5% and 3.5% up until 2024. Council deliberated this during their discussions this year, and it was determined that as the district, we would continue on with that plan. When we looked at the electrical utility, again, as noted, the 3.62% rate increase is required just due to covering the costs of the Fortis rate increase. So a typical residential home, and when we say typical, because there's so many different variations, what we consider a typical home when it comes to water usage is 618 cubic meters being used annually. Sewer is a flat fee, so everyone gets charged the same on a residential perspective. And on the electrical side, a consumption of 10,000 kilowatt hours annually. So taking those figures into account, Madam Mayor, we're looking at proposed water rate increases of $39.50, sewer increases of $14.30, and electrical increases of $54.61. One other item to note that didn't make it onto this slide, but should be brought forward, is that council did make a resolution to keep agricultural water rates at the $192.89 per arable acre. That was the rate that was set back in 2020, prior to the 25% rate reduction that council approved for a 1 year due to COVID this year. So that rate has also been set as well. So that concludes my report, Madam Mayor. As you can see, the three resolutions on the board for council to consider, and I can answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? I think that this is the third time we've been through this with Dave. So if there are no questions, could I have someone bring forward the resolution? Oh, Karen, you have your hand up?
Yes, just Councillor Patton is waving. Dave, could you not go to your screen share?
Sorry.
Oh.
Good, thank you, because I couldn't see him. I apologize, Councillor Patton.
It's okay, I'm hiding. My only question to our Director of Finance was, did the grant for the voltage conversion, did we get that? Or is that's to move forward if we get the grant funding? That would be my only question.
We have not received an announcement yet, so we're still waiting, and that project would only go forward if we received the funding.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you so much.
Am I still sharing my screen? Because I can't seem to unshare
Yeah.
Yes,
Stop
you are.
sharing.
There.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so Councillor Patton, that was a good question, and you got your answer to that. Any other questions? Okay, so could I have someone bring forward the motions that are there, please? Anyone? Thank you, Councillor Holmes.
So move the water utilities and water rates amendment by law 2020-031 be introduced and read a first, second, and third time. The fees and charges bylaw amendment, electric and sewer fees bylaw 2020-030 be introduced and read a first, second, and third time. And that a special council meeting be scheduled for 4 p.m. on December 18th, 2020 to consider adoption of the two bylaws. You're on mute. You're on mute, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Seconded by Councillor Van Elfen. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. So on to the 7.9 Chamber of Commerce fee for service agreement. And I believe, yes. Oh, no. Yes. Mr. Dolivet is speaking about, oh, Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may, I think your microphone is rubbing on your collar every time you go to speak, and there's a lot of static. Just thought I'd mention it.
I'll take my jacket off. It's so cold in here, though. Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen. As I was telling Councillor Carlson earlier, I think that maybe I don't have it fitted properly to my little pinhead. So there, we'll do with that. Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen. Okay, so is Mr. Dolivet here? Oh, there you are. I'm having trouble seeing people today. So if you could lead us through this one then, please, Brad.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is to discuss a new fee-for-service agreement with the Chamber of Commerce and the District of Summerland. If council members at the November 2nd closed meeting, staff provided a report to council for a proposed fee-for-service agreement with Summerland Chamber of Commerce. And following that closed meeting, council provided the following resolution to staff that council enter into a fee-for-service agreement with the Summerland Chamber of Commerce with a value of $110,000 for the provision of visitor services for 2021 and $113,300 for the provision of visitor services in 2022. This agreement was provided by the Chamber to the district and provided a number of deliverables that were included in a scope of services that's attached as part of the report that's provided in the meeting today. And just a brief overview of the services to be provided, includes marketing and tourism promotion for the community, participating in the Visit South Okanagan initiative that's happening in the South Okanagan on behalf of the district. The Chamber will be our representative in that group to lead and coordinate tourism development within the community. Tourism destination and product development for the community and working also with the Winery Association within the community. And then also delivering positive tourism experiences on the ground. And then finally, the Chamber is also agreeing through this agreement that to continue providing visitor information services through the Visitor Information Center that's located along Highway 97 and also houses the offices of the Chamber of Commerce. So the total value of the proposed agreement is $223,000, which is over the threshold for typical open procurement processes. However, because this is a Chamber of Commerce is a not-for-profit organization, they are exempt from the requirement for open procurement. And then just to discuss briefly the financial implications of this proposed agreement. This agreement reduces the annual contract that the district used to provide the Chamber of Commerce from $225,000 to $110,000 for this upcoming year, and then $113,000 in 2022. And with the advent of COVID-19, the district has been looking at all opportunities to reduce costs, and we're expecting that this will be continually to be needed to look forward into 2021 into 2022 to continue to reduce costs. And then also this change as well to this agreement is to foster a new relationship with the Chamber of Commerce that isn't directly associated with the business license fee system with the district. And I have it on my work plan in 2021 to, in this regard, review the business license fees and complete a benchmark comparison with similar sized municipalities. And then finally, the district as well, with these new terms of the agreement, will be providing any additional value-added economic development services that are outside the scope of services. So those that aren't tourism related would fall to the district to push forward now moving forward into 2021. And I can take any questions if you'd like.
Questions? Councillor Carlson.
So if you could just confirm then, for an event such as Light Up, the chamber, we would have to do what in order to still have the chamber fulfill that? Would there be an RFP process? Would there be, would it be still fall on them and they would be looking for different funding sources?
Through Madam Mayor, yeah, that would still be as included in the scope of services, the way I interpret the agreement. It would be a tourism related event and would be included as part of the contract.
Councillor Holmes.
Although Light Up isn't specifically written into the contract, so it's their event, so it's really up to them whether they run it or not. That's my understanding. Is that not correct?
You know, I think that would be something we would have to discuss at the time. Like this year is a good example where it is being canceled by the Chamber of Commerce. So for obvious reasons with COVID, but I think that it would be something that would fall within the scope of services of this agreement. Whether they proceed with it or not would be something that they would probably have to discuss with the district. But you're right, it's not specifically written in the agreement. So if they decide not to proceed, it would be something difficult for us to force.
Any other questions? Okay, I will ask someone to bring forward a motion then, please. Councillor Van Elfen, thank you.
As presented, Madam Mayor.
We approve it as outlined for a period of for 2 years.
Correct.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Patton. Thank you. Any further discussion on Councillor Carlson?
Yeah, I just I agree that this is the right direction to be taking with the chamber. I think we do need to make sure that in signing this agreement and moving forward that we have some clarity around such an event as Light Up, because it's not something that necessarily we want to just have drop off if the chamber can't do it. We need to make sure that there is a way to ensure that there's some continuity and it doesn't just become a last minute, oh no, whose responsibility is that? So that would be my only request or hesitation on this.
Is there a thought maybe of specifically adding that to the agreement? Councillor Holmes, do you want to weigh in on this, please?
Yeah, when Anthony was here, when he was negotiating this, and when I sat in with the meeting with the chamber, you know, Light Up. I think we made it clear that that Light Up was their event. For a long time, they were trying to shift the thinking that it was a district event, and you know, we shifted it back, and I think everybody's on the same page now. It's always been a chamber event, you know, and it continues to be a chamber event, and we've supported it because we recognize that there are community benefits, you know, to supporting that event. And I suppose, you know, in a future discussion, you know, if they need more support, it'll come back to council. But it's you know, it's really the ball is in the chamber's court when it comes to Light Up.
So I have a question about that then. I totally agree with you in the statement that you made about it being a chamber event. We finally have that established. Is it your understanding, Councillor Holmes, that included in the fee for service, like dollar-wise, that there is district support for the light up? I guess my question is, if they choose not to do it, then how does that impact the fee for service?
This contract specifically?
Yes.
Yeah, it was my understanding that it's not included, but you know, they have to account for how they spend the money, you know, with their. So if they choose to spend the money for light up, I personally wouldn't have a problem with it. I see that as tourism promotion. So, but we did strengthen the reporting requirement to council. So, you know, it's really up to the chamber if they want to use that money for light up or not.
Okay, good. So yeah, so that answers my question. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we've already got the motion on the table and seconded, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so clearly we're not going into closed after. Can people hang around for another 5 minutes so that we can get through this ORL appointment, because this is something that needs to be done before the new year? Okay, thank you. Karen, if you could lead us through this, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this report is a little bit administrative, of course, as we head into 2021. The first item is the rotating appointment of the acting mayors throughout 2021. So as long as there's no changes needed on there, we can approve that this evening. And then the second part is the appointments to the Regional Library Board. And I have confirmed that Councillor Carlson and Councillor Holmes are willing to keep their names forward for that appointment and alternate.
Okay, thank you. Were there any changes that needed to be made to the draft schedule of the acting mayor for 2021? All right, and we've already heard about the ORL appointment, so could I have someone bring forward those resolutions? You don't have to read them, we just heard them. Councillor Van Elfen, thank you. Councillor Traynor, all in favor? Great, thank you. Karen, now what about the public comment period?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there anybody that wishes to comment? I see that Mr. Hacking is still here. Did you want to comment again at our second opportunity at this meeting, Robert?
Yes, please.
Okay, please go ahead.
Just to address some information raised during the proposal, I know the motion has been adopted. Just in regards to Snow Avenue, 2 ball diamonds were provisioned at this location as inception as mentioned. And even with the suggested change of use that was on the table, 2 ballparks would still continue to exist at this location. Living Memorial would still exist in its original function and would remain predominantly as a ball field. Mitigation options would provide a suitable field for tadpole and mosquito players close to the playground and other park amenities. No displacement occurs that changes the capability currently provided to players with the mitigation. Trout Creek residents would also receive significant improvements to their existing field, which would be available then for all users of that park. Playing baseball is not the exclusive way our veterans can be honored. Having more but different residents being able to enjoy a portion of a district park to a greater but different capacity freely and without worry should not be presented as inherently disrespectful to the sacrifices that have been made by our veterans. With the motion, council adopted the research that indicated from users that a clear site preference and the taxpayers' funds that have been spent for the last consultations have now been made fruitless. Not considering the new proposed sites with the primary location that the previous reports identified as suitable is very disappointing. Providing adequate size to support the diverse needs of large and small dogs is not asking for a gold standard park. It is asking for a park that will be safe and functional for most of the needs of Summerland dog owning residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Okay. We will not be going into the closed session at this late time, so could I have someone bring forward adjournment, please? Councillor Carlson, Councillor Trainer is seconding. All in favor? Great. Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay.